The story begins with an ancient tale of the Amazon, according to which there was a magical tree deep inside the jungle known as the Tears of the Moon. It was said that just a single petal of its flower could heal any wound and erase any curse. For centuries, many people had set out in search of that tree, but the most famous among them was a Spanish warrior named Sam. He wanted to obtain that magical power at any cost. Sam and his men then faced the dangerous jungle of the Amazon, but after some time, the true guardians of the jungle found him and saved his life. As soon as Sam recovered, he demanded the arrowhead from them, which was considered the key to reaching that magical tree. But the guardians clearly refused, so Sam attacked. However, this mistake cost him very dearly. Sam and his companions received a curse that from that day forward, they would never be able to leave the region of the Amazon River. Then the story moved to the present, where a man named Bill was talking to a group of people about this very story. He pointed to the possible location of the tree on a map and explained that if they could find the arrowhead, they could launch an expedition and discover the Tears of the Moon. But in reality, the entire speech had been written by his sister Lily, and she was standing hidden upstairs, reciting every line along with him. After a while, Lily realized that her brother would not be able to convince the society to hand over the arrowhead, so she decided to take matters into her own hands. While Bill began to distract everyone, Lily quietly slipped into the corridors of the society. She had a map in her hand that was supposed to lead her to the artifacts room, but on the way, she bumped into Prince Park. Park thought she was just looking for some assistance room, so he let her go without any suspicion. Lily then walked straight into the artifacts room. She then changed her clothes and put on boys' clothing so that no one would pay attention to her. After a while, she found the crate in which the arrowhead was kept. As soon as she opened the crate, she immediately stole the arrowhead. But at that very moment, a society member suddenly brought Prince Park into that room as well. It turned out that Park had also been searching for the same arrowhead, and when they opened the crate and looked inside, the arrowhead was gone. Just then, Park's eyes fell on Lily, who was trying to escape from there. Prince Park immediately ordered his men to catch Lily. But Lily was not the kind to give up so easily. Using her cleverness and agility, she outsmarted them one by one. But in the end, she came face to face with Park himself, and he stopped Lily. And the very next moment, Lily fell out through the library window. But luckily, she managed to grab a ladder that was there. However, Park then untied the rope on the ladder, causing her to swing even further away. Park then told her that if she wanted help, she should hand over the arrowhead to him. Lily then said nothing and threw the box towards him and jumped directly into the bus that her brother Bill had stopped for her just in time. Park then immediately opened the box. But what was this? There was no arrowhead inside. Seeing this, a society member began to apologize to him. But as soon as Park found out who Lily was, he flew into a rage and killed everyone. Then, sometime later, we see that Lily and Bill were preparing to go to the Amazon. Their goal was to find the magical tree, the Tears of the Moon. They were fully convinced that with the help of that magical tree, a cure could be found for many deadly diseases in the world. They had planned their entire route. Now, only one thing was missing. They needed a boat captain who could take them deep into the Amazon River. After this, we see the Amazon jungle, where some English tourists were enjoying a cruise on an old and rather dangerous-looking boat. The captain of this boat, the skipper, was Frank, a man who was an expert at fooling people and making money. He had built his entire cruise business on a single idea that everything in the Amazon could kill a human being. Taking advantage of this fear, he would charge tourists more money. He would perform various acts and tricks to make everyone feel that they were part of a life-threatening adventure. He had even paid a local tribe to go along with his loss. On the other side, Lily and Bill had also arrived at a small settlement on the banks of the Amazon, where Frank was running his whole operation. But they did not know that Prince Park's men were also following. Anyway, Lily was extremely excited about her mission, and as soon as she arrived, she immediately set out to find the skipper. Her eyes were on a man named Roy, who appeared to be the owner of most of the boats at the dock. Meanwhile, we see that Roy went straight to Frank, who had just returned with his boat. Roy asked him to repay his debt, but Frank did not have the full amount, so Roy took out the engine from his boat and locked it away. He made it clear that the engine would only be returned when the entire debt was paid. Then, after a while, Lily and Bill separated and began searching for Roy. During this time, Lily arrived in front of Roy's office, where she encountered Frank instead of Roy. In reality, Frank had sneaked into Roy's office. His only goal was to steal the key to get his boat's engine back. But when Lily arrived, he immediately introduced himself as Roy so that no one would suspect him. Then Lily explained that she needed to reach a specific location deep inside the Amazon River, and she was willing to pay good money for the job. As soon as he heard the mention of money, Frank opened the door. Lily walked straight inside and without wasting any time began showing him a map and explaining where she needed to go. Meanwhile, Frank was still pretending to be Roy. He said that the place Lily wanted to go was extremely dangerous. Anyway, he then asked where she had gotten this map from. Lily then deflected the question and said that it was a very old and accurate map. She also said that it was her father's last keepsake, who used to tell her stories of the Tears of the Moon since childhood. Hearing this, Frank laughed and jokingly advised Lily to go on some other adventure. Just then, Lily's eyes fell on the box that Frank was trying to open. She immediately understood that Frank wanted to steal the key, leave. But the surprising thing was that she opened the box herself, and this was exactly what Frank liked about her, and he decided to take on this job. He then took Lily to a restaurant to finalize the deal. The two were still arguing over the price of the journey when Bill walked in with the real Roy. Lily immediately understood that Frank had fooled. She said goodbye to him and began to leave. But just as she was leaving, Frank's eyes fell on the arrowhead that Lily was wearing around her neck. Seeing the arrowhead, his interest grew even more. Now he wanted to become Lily's guide at any cost. So he kept lowering his fee and kept saying that no one could take her to that place better than him. But at that very moment, a jaguar suddenly burst into the restaurant. Seeing it, Roy ran and hid in fear, while Frank stood his ground in front of Lily and Bill. For a while, he had a good fight with the jaguar, and then he threw a piece of meat outside and chased the jaguar away. Seeing Frank's style of dealing with the jaguar, Lily's trust in him was established, and she hired him as her guide right then and there. Then, sometime later, Frank arrived at the dock to pick them both up. But the troubles were not over yet. In reality, some local people working for Prince Park kidnapped Lily. Meanwhile, Frank and Bill took the boat and set off to escape from Roy's men. Luckily, Lily did not take long either. She showed tremendous running and cunning around the dock and managed to free herself from her kidnapper. And finally, Frank and Bill pulled her onto the boat. Then, as all three began to move away from there, Park received the news that Lily had slipped out of his grasp. Hearing this, he ordered his men to bring the submarine up. He wanted to reach the Tears of the Moon at any price, because he believed that its power could help Germany win World War I. First of all, Park began firing at their boat, but when that did not work, he fired a torpedo directly at them. It seemed as though it was now impossible for Sam and his companions to survive. But at the last moment, Frank steered his boat so cleverly that the torpedo could not even touch them. But during this time, the submarine's propeller suddenly got entangled in a thick rope, and the very next moment, the entire submarine was dragged towards the dock. The collision was so powerful that almost all of Roy's boats were destroyed. Now, Frank, Lily, and Bill had finally set off in search of the Tears of the Moon. During the journey, Bill was quite bothered by the blazing heat, but Lily was enjoying every moment in the Amazon. Every strange animal that appeared near the river excited her. She kept making videos continuously with her camera. Even Frank became part of her recordings. Frank found the camera quite interesting, so he also started looking at it curiously. And during this time, a light chemistry also began to appear between the two. But suddenly, an idea came to Lily's mind. She told Frank to take the boat on a new route. This path was more dangerous, but it could shorten the journey considerably. Frank did not like this idea at all. He tried hard to convince Lily, but when she did not agree, he reluctantly accepted her suggestion. Then as night fell, Frank docked the boat at the shore so that the engine could rest for a while. Meanwhile, Bill went to sleep while Frank and Lily sat on the deck and began talking. Gradually, the two began to understand each other better. But then something strange happened with Bill. He came face to face with a jaguar named Sally, who had made her way straight up to the deck. Bill froze with fear, but Frank calmly called out to Sally, and the very next moment she started licking Bill's face. Then Lily found out that Sally was actually Frank's own pet jaguar. Knowing this, she became quite angry. She felt that Frank had made a fool of her, and whatever little trust she had placed in Frank was now broken. On the other side, Park had also changed his route. His intention was to find Sam and his cursed companion, because he felt those people could help him reach the magical tree. Then, sometime later, he arrived at the place where Sam and his men had been imprisoned centuries ago. There, Park went close to Sam's stone body and poured a little river water on it. The very next moment, two snakes emerged from his body. It turned out that those snakes were a part of Sam himself. Through them, Sam spoke to Park. Then the two made a deal. Park would help find the arrowhead, and in return, Sam would take him to the Tears of the Moon. Hearing this, the snakes swore on the deal, and then Park freed Sam and his companions from their imprisonment. Meanwhile, the next morning, Frank and his companions had finally reached the dangerous currents of the Amazon. As they moved forward through the dangerous waters, Frank somehow kept the boat steady. Despite the fear, Lily kept insisting that he move forward on that same path. In the middle of the journey, their boat was almost about to fall down a dangerous slope. Seeing this, everyone's breath stopped, but Frank steadied the boat just in time and brought it towards calmer water, after which everyone breathed a sigh of relief. After a while, Frank and Bill began collecting wood for the engine. Then Bill explained why he had come on this mission with Lily, even though he was not at all adventurous like her. In reality, when he came to terms with the fact that he was gay, Lily was the only one in the entire family who stood by his side, and for this reason, he was ready to go anywhere for her. Meanwhile, Lily quietly slipped into Frank's cabin and found something there that left her astonished. When Frank returned to the boat, Lily questioned him about the maps and documents she had found in the cabin. She felt that Frank was also searching for the same tree. Frank said that yes, at some point in time that had been the case, but a long time ago. He explained that his reason for coming to the Amazon was the same. He had also come in search of that magical power, but he had never been able to find it. But just then, the tribe that Frank had hired for his act suddenly attacked. For a while, those people kept the act going in front of Lily and Bill. Frank played the translator and kept facilitating conversation between Lily and the tribe's chief. But when Lily pushed things a little too far, the chief decided to end the whole act. Sometime later, Lily asked the chief about the meaning of the markings on the arrowhead. arrowhead. The chief explained that whoever sets out in search of the tears of the moon must turn water into stone and must mend a broken heart. He also explained that the special flower on the tree blooms only during the rare crying moon, and according to them that moment was coming in 2 days. The chief said that to reach the tree, one would have to follow a snake that is biting its own tail. Hearing this, Lily remembered that she had seen that very symbol on the map. She immediately looked at the map and found that symbol there. Now Lily felt that she could reach the destination on her own, simply by getting into a small boat without Frank, so she paid Frank his remaining money. But that night, the village was suddenly attacked by the cursed people, the conquistadors. They had only one goal: to obtain the arrowhead. Frank, Bill, and Lily began facing 3 separate conquistadors, but during the fight, one of them snatched the arrowhead from Lily's neck and delivered it to Sam. As soon as Sam got the arrowhead, he began to flee from there, but Frank blocked his path and a fierce fight broke out between the two over that artifact. But during this, Sam stabbed Frank with a knife. However, before falling down through the trees, Frank snatched the arrowhead back and tossed it towards Lily. Meanwhile, the chief saved Lily and Bill's lives and brought both of them safely down. She then told Lily to run away, far from the river's sight, because the conquistadors could not cross the river. Lily began to run, but Sam's snakes reached her and coiled around her. Before Sam could do anything, the jungle dragged him and his companions back towards the river. When the conquistadors composed themselves, they realized that to reach Lily, they now needed Park's help. Then one of Sam's companions sent his bees to Park so that he could be informed of their situation. Then the next morning, Lily saw Frank and thought he was completely fine. But when the chief and Bill arrived there, their eyes fell on the knife lodged in Frank's back. Now Frank had no choice but to tell the truth. He admitted that he had also once been one of Sam's conquistadors. But before he could explain further, Lily had to remove the knife from his body. But the surprising thing was that even after the knife was removed, Frank suffered not the slightest harm. Seeing this, Bill fainted right there. Anyway, after a while, Lily brought him back to his senses and said goodbye. She said that she would cover the remaining part of the journey with Frank alone. Meanwhile, the cursed conquistadors' bees had reached Park's submarine. Park called them inside. One of the bees showed the location of the arrowhead on the map. Then a full conversation took place between the two, which left even Park's companions astonished. Meanwhile, during the journey, Frank and Lily began talking about his past life spanning 400 years. Frank explained that he had been Sam's closest friend. It was for this reason that he had come to the Amazon with him in search of the tears of the moon, because Sam wanted to save his daughter from the jaws of death. Frank used to make maps for Sam, and the river map that Lily was using had also been made by Frank himself. Frank had traveled deep into the jungle with Sam to find the magical flower of the tears of the moon. But when he saw what Sam was prepared to do to the tribe that had saved their lives, he realized he could not be a part of it. Frank stopped Sam from taking the life of the chief's daughter. During this time, the girl ran away with the arrowhead, and in her last breath, the chief cursed Sam and his companions. In this way, years passed and Frank and Sam kept clashing with each other again and again. Finally, Frank imprisoned Sam and his men in a cave from where the jungle could not drag them back to the river. For the next 300 years, the jungle twisted and broke their bodies and gradually turned them into terrifying monsters. Lily listened to all of this carefully. Then she asked Frank how he had spent the past 300 years. Frank explained that he had built the very town where Lily had met him. Over these years, he had made many friends and lost them too. Later, he had begun his search for the tears of the moon. He built his boat and scoured the entire river but found nothing. Finally, exhausted and defeated, he gave up the search and became a tourist guide. Over the course of his very long life, he had also kept quite a few big cats. Meanwhile, Prince Park reached Bill on his submarine. He captured Bill and forced him to reveal the location of the tears of the moon. Under compulsion, Bill pointed out the location on the map. Immediately after this, Park killed the conquistadors' bees so that they could not pass this information on to Sam. Meanwhile, Frank and Lily were also heading towards that same place. During the journey, Frank told Lily what he would do when he finally found the flower of the tears of the moon. He said that he would have 2 choices, and he would choose whichever path could ultimately give him peace. The next day, they reached a part of the river where no path ahead seemed visible. Lily thought that perhaps this was at the very place mentioned in the arrowhead, where water turns into stone. Frank then jumped into the river and went down below. There he found an ancient chamber where a lever was fitted. But upon returning, he told Lily that she would have to go inside and pull the lever herself, because he could not fit into that space himself. Hearing this, Lily became nervous because she did not know how to swim. But eventually, Frank convinced her that they had no other option, and then both of them descended into the water together. Now, as soon as Lily reached inside the chamber, she pressed the lever down. But as soon as she pressed the lever, the door shut. Seeing this, Lily panicked terribly. Then Frank kissed her and gave her a little air so that she could breathe. Then Lily somehow managed to push that ancient lever all the way down. Meanwhile, a swarm of piranhas attacked Frank. Slowly, all the water from there began to drain out. But until the water drained out completely, there was no way for Lily to get out. Then when Frank finally reached her, he thought Lily had drowned. But the very next moment, Lily's eyes opened and she slapped Frank because he had left her alone there. Anyway, while changing clothes, both of them realized that they had finally discovered discovered the true location of the tree. But just then, another big problem arose. As the remaining water drained away, they saw that Park was also present there, and he had taken Bill as his hostage. Things got even worse when one of the conquistadors' bees, which had been secretly following them, went back and revealed the location to the cursed conquistadors as well. Just then, Park snatched the arrowhead from Lily. Then he forced Frank to take everyone inside the cave on his steamboat to reach the magical tree. But when they reached the tree, it looked like it had been dead for centuries. Then Park told Lily to make the tree bloom because very few people knew how to do this. But Lily refused. Then Frank said that he would do the job, but in return he would need one petal of the flower. Park agreed to this, but he kept Bill as his hostage. Then Frank took the arrowhead from Park and began searching for the way forward. When he did not succeed immediately, Park forced Lily to help him as well. Then the two of them together began solving the puzzle, and then they discovered that the arrowhead was not actually an arrowhead at all. In fact, it was a heart. Following the markings, they broke it open and took out a magical piece from inside. Then that piece was placed on one part of a stone and the joined heart on the other side. As soon as this happened, the magical power of the tree began to emerge. In the moonlight, that tree slowly began to bloom, and within moments it was completely filled with flowers. But as the tree bloomed, Lily shot Frank. The moment the bullet hit him, Frank fell into the depths of the cave. Park immediately ordered his men to pluck all the petals before the crying moon ended. During this time, Frank rescued Bill from Park's men. Then with Sally's help, the two of them together regained control of the steamboat. Then Lily climbed the tree to obtain one petal, but to pluck it before the crying moon ended, she had to move very fast. Finally, she plucked one petal of the tears of the moon. But at that moment, she fell from the tree, and Prince Park was already present there. He once again threatened Lily and said, "Hand over the petal or no one will be able to save you and your brother." But just then, the entire tree began to break apart. To save her life, Lily let go of the petal and grabbed hold of Park. On the other side, Frank caught the falling petal, but the story was not over yet. Just then, the cursed conquistadors also reached the tree, and they killed Park. After that, they went after Lily, but Frank drew their attention towards himself by showing them the petal and forced them to follow. Frank left Bill in a safe place and ordered Sally to stay with him so that she could protect both Bill and Lily. Then Lily came down from the tree to her brother, and the two of them watched as Frank drove his boat straight towards that ancient monument. The conquistadors began fighting Frank to get the petal, but Frank faced them one by one and kept holding them back. Finally, he came face to face with Sam. Sam once again demanded the petal from him, but then it was revealed that the real petal was with Bill so that he could give it to Lily. The very next moment, the boat went and collided with that ancient monument, and because of this collision, the river water stopped flowing into the cave. The jungle immediately took the conquistadors into its grip, and because they could no longer reach the river, the jungle turned Frank along with all the conquistadors back into stone. Sometime later, Lily arrived at that place and decided that she would give the petal to Frank so that his curse could be broken. With this decision, she also put her dream of helping humanity at stake. But surprisingly, nothing happened. Forced to move on, Lily and Bill left from there, while Sally kept waiting for her own. Just then, Lily heard Sally roaring loud. She turned around and looked, and was left astonished by what she saw. Frank had come back to life. Lily ran and went straight into his arms, and then they saw that the magical tree had left one more petal for them. Then, sometime later, everyone returned back to the town. Now Frank said goodbye to Roy and set off from those Amazon jungles towards London. In the final scene, we see our hero and heroine on the streets of London. Both are completely happy and have kept the jaguar as their pet. And with this, the story comes to an end. If you liked the video, please give it a like. Subscribe to the channel. See you in the next video.